isolate the absolute value, subtract 4 from both sides, and I get negative 3 times the absolute value of x plus 1 is less than or equal to negative 21. Divide by negative 3. Remember what happens with an inequality when you multiply or divide by a negative. That inequality flips. So I've got the absolute value of x plus 1 is greater than or equal to, sign flipped, negative 21 divided by negative 3. A negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, so the sign flipped. And now it says this absolute value thing is greater than negative 7. So think about all the things that whatever is in this absolute value could be. Well, it could be 7 because the boundary point is inclusive, or 8, or 9, or 10 because that makes it greater than 7. But it could also be negative 8, or negative 9, or negative 10 because the absolute value of any of those numbers comes out to be greater than or equal to 7. So this one is going to look like opposing rays. It goes in two different directions. It's got to be, well, 7 and negative 7 are not what's going to go down here. Okay? I've got to solve for that. But I do know that it goes in opposite directions because it started out, this thing that was inside the absolute value, what I see as x plus 1, but I'm just ignoring it for now. This thing that was in the absolute value had to be greater than 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, that goes this way. Or it could be negative 7, negative 8, negative 9, negative 10, it goes that way. Opposing rays. Opposing rays are ors. So this is going to go, the absolute value gets dropped, x plus 1 is greater than or equal to 7, or x plus 1 is less than or equal to negative 7. So you can see in both of these cases, whether it's an and or an or, what's happening is you just drop the absolute value sign and just pretend that it wasn't there, but you're going to have another inequality. You flip the absolute, or sorry, you get rid of the absolute value sign, you flip the inequality, and then what was on the other side, well, you have to take the opposite. You then have to figure out whether it's an and or using logic. Subtract 1 from both sides, and I get x is greater than or equal to 6. Subtract 1 from both sides, I get x is less than or equal to negative 8. So the negative 8 goes here, the 6 goes there. Pretty challenging, isn't it? Alright, here's another one that I'll explain. You're going to isolate the absolute value. The only thing that's with the absolute value that needs to go away is a 2/3. We're going to get rid of that 2/3 in one step by multiplying both sides by the reciprocal of 2/3. That is, multiply by 3/2. It'll cancel out on this side. And on this side, 2 times 3 divided by 2 is 3. Basically, I just think the 2's divide, become 1. 1 times 3 is 3. So now I've isolated the absolute value. Negative 5 plus y, the absolute value of negative 5 plus y is greater than or equal to 3. So this thing that's inside the absolute value, it could either be greater than or equal to 3, which I've set up here. Remember, it's just drop the absolute value sign and set it up just how you see it otherwise. And then the second one, you're going to drop the absolute value sign, flip the inequality sign, and take the opposite once on the other side of the inequality sign from where the absolute value was. So here are my two inequalities to solve. Add 5 in both cases to both sides, and so I get y is greater than or equal to 8. I get y is less than or equal to 2. I hadn't yet decided on the or when I graphed both of these at the same time. They go in opposite directions. The opposing rays is the or. Okay, got one more to do. Let's see. Going to isolate the absolute value. I've got to get rid of the 4 and the 2. The first thing that is going to go away is this 4. Now on this side I've got a decimal, so I'm going to make the 4 a 4.0 over here. And so I get 2 times the absolute value of 9.3 minus 5m is less than 64.8. Divide both sides by 2. By the way, don't distribute through the absolute value signs. They don't work like the parentheses in that case. There is no distributive property for absolute value. Okay, so just divide to cancel it out. So we will get 9.3 minus 5m, still inside the absolute value. And that will be less than 32.4. Now it's time to come up with our two inequalities. So the first one, we're just going to drop the inequality sign. And the second one, we're going to drop the inequality sign. I'm running out of space here, so I'll bring it down here a little bit. 9.3 minus 5m. Flip the inequality sign and take the opposite on what was on the other side of the inequality sign from where the absolute value was. So negative 32.4 over there. Okay, now I've got to solve each of these. In both cases, I'm either going to be dividing by a negative or I could add the 5m to both sides. So I'm going to subtract 9.3 from both sides. Alright, so I just moved that out of the way so I could finish writing this. So I'm going to get negative 5m is less than 23.1. Divide both sides by negative m. When you do, the sign flips. And the negative is going to go to the top, but no matter here because we're just going to punch this in the calculator and get m is greater than negative 4.62. Alright, I just cleared some more space so I could finish this problem. This was the other inequality that was at one point written over there. Now it's moved. Same steps as last time. We're going to subtract 9.3 from both sides. Sign doesn't flip when I subtract, but it will flip when I divide by a negative. Ooh, I didn't. Oh, I did flip it. Okay. Now, these are both negative signs, so I'm going to think I'm adding these. So a negative there. 4 and 3 is 7. 9 and 2, 11. Carry the 1. So negative 41.7 after I add those. Then we're going to divide by a negative 5. A negative divided by a negative is positive. We're going to get 8.34. So m, flip the sign, is less than 8.34. So this time for my graph, I have open dots because I have the non-inclusive inequality. Negative 4.62 is less than positive 8.34. So it's going to go to the left of it. Now I need to be larger than that negative, less than the 8.34, so that would be the things in between, which means that all the while this was an and. So my solutions are m is less than 8.34 and m is greater than negative 4.62, or you could say it's between negative 4.62 and 8.34.